Welcome to LeFilmNation. Our podcast is about filming, business, and gear. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about Unreal Engine 5, and later on, the second part of our series on video pre-production. Let's get started. Welcome back. My name is Nigel, and I'm a videographer and filmmaker based in Fukuoka, Japan. And John?
Hi, I'm John Bear. I'm a YouTube filmmaker, and I used to live in Japan, but now I live everywhere else.
Hey, I'm William from Accent Studio. I'm a photographer and videographer in Fukuoka, Japan.
All right, thanks, guys. So on today's hot news, we're going to be talking about a hot new topic, and it's called Unreal Engine 5. And it's, well, I don't really know a lot about it, and the two guys next to me here, they know a ton about it, and they're super excited. I saw the trailer on YouTube. It's freaking unbelievable. I'm an Xbox guy myself, so I think the torch is going to be handed over to the guys over here. So, yeah, who's going to be taking it, guys?
Well, I mean, I guess I'll take the lead a little bit here first with the non-technical stuff. Why are we even talking about it? Well, because the way it can be implemented into filmmaking in the future, once you let your imagination run, it's completely bonkers. Because we're getting to a level of realism where basically you can imagine a world of having virtual sets, almost virtual actors, and all the production can happen in reverse.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. So that's one thing that they did already with Unreal Engine 4, actually, on the Mandalorian, the new show on Disney Plus. You know, with the little Yoda. So what they did is they basically have a huge set made of basically big LCD screens, and they display the whole environment on that. So that you can be transported on a new planet entirely, or into another room, or whatever environment you want, and the actors can just play in that scene, and you shoot that, and you already have the lighting that's correct on the actor, and the bokeh, everything is as is, and you almost have no post-production to do afterwards. So it's kind of backwards, because you have to make all the 3D environment first before even shooting. Yeah. That's kind of very interesting.
And the cool thing that I see about that is that actors, they feel that they're actually in that location. Because I remember a very common complaint about all of the actors playing in the prequel Star Wars trilogy, coming back to Star Wars, which is pretty fitting, is that they don't really feel that they're actually there. And you can see certain scenes, for example, in episode 3, where Obi-Wan is confronting, this General Grievous guy, the big robot guy. And he doesn't even flinch when he's swinging the swords in it, whatever, because you can tell the actor is not even looking at a robot. He's just looking into
an actor who knows how to act in front of a green screen is what you have to be.
It's very difficult.
So that skill set of acting in front of a green screen is becoming more irrelevant, I think. And that's good for everyone.
Myself, I actually did some research on this, and you're talking about projection in front of, and projection TV or projection behind an actor. And it's been around since I think around the 40s or so, with like a King Kong type movie, where the actress was actually on a tree, and then they put the projection of King Kong behind her, or whatever, the big monkey or whatever, gorilla, and then they sort of superimpose the two images together. So this actually dates back to, I don't know, whatever it is, 80 years ago or 70 years ago.
Or even simpler, even simpler, like in the old movies, old car scenes. The car scenes, you would have a screen behind that was projected on. You'd have all the trees going by, flying by the windows.
Didn't Kill Bill do that also? Didn't Kill Bill, or not Kill Bill, but Pulp Fiction and stuff like that, when they were driving scenes, kind of like the fun scenes.
Any old movie, because back then you didn't have, you did have in some cases blue screen and green screen, but it was much simpler at the time, when there was no computers, to do simply a projection in the background.
I can also imagine it's just cheaper to film it in studio than having to drive down an actual road, having to lock it off and hire extras and pedestrians and stuff.
It's faster, it's safer, and cheaper. So,
Also, lighting. I heard the light can bounce off to the actor, so it looks more natural. I don't know if that's true.
That's some. I think for me, I'm a nerd on lighting and colors and everything. And for me, that's the most important. Like when I watched The Mandalorian, I was like blown away by the quality of the reflection on his helmet and stuff. It's just so like good. It's gorgeous. Like it feels analog. It feels real. It feels like with actual real. And that's because all the light is bouncing around in a real manner.
I would like to say one reason why I wanted to talk about this on this podcast was because when watching this, they talked about how they can use actual assets from movies in video games because the engine will be so powerful by now that they can render these high polygon counts in like a real-time rendered video game. Yeah. So I'm just imagining now, as an indie developer right now, you can buy a bunch of assets for your video games, but they tend to be low poly counts so that they can easily import them into your project. But now we might be entering into a world where, for example, you could use the same assets that Marvel Studios uses to build their fake worlds in your own video game or your own movie production, for that matter. Like everything's just becoming more accessible to everyone. Yeah. So I can imagine indie filmmakers going hardcore into like VFX in just a couple of years.
That's awesome.
So you talked about something, you said low poly and high poly. So maybe let me share my screen and explain for the viewers who don't know what this is.
We're about to get an education here, aren't we, William?
A little bit.
Nice.
So for those who don't know, I used to be, in my previous job, I did a lot of 3D, 3D like modeling, rendering, everything. And so as it pertains to video games, this is how it used to be, because machines were not very powerful. Like you used to have like very slow, very low poly counts. So that means the number of triangles that make up a model, a 3D model, were very low. And obviously the more you add triangles, the more the object is defined, but also the more power it takes to compute that. And so then one way that there was a technology then that was introduced maybe 10 years ago, which is called tessellation, which was helping like make, you had one model, and when it was far away, it would use a very low poly version of that model. And when you get closer and closer, the poly count would go up, and so it would be more defined. But now we're reaching the point where the power is like the power of the machines is so great that you can use like billions of polygons in the scene, and it's no problem. That's apparently the milestone that they reached with the new Unreal Engine 5. Apparently, if you can believe them. But I want to show something. So I'm just surprised about this new announcement that they managed to run it on the PS5. But actually, they also blew everyone's mind last year when some studio released these images. This is a video that's called Rebirth. You can search that Rebirth on YouTube, and these scenes are.
Can you zoom in a little bit in your
also rendered?
Could you just pinch in a little bit? There's a little, just pinch in a little bit. Pinch in.
I don't know how to do that.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry about that.
Maybe.
Oh, there you go.
This is this was rendered in real time. Apparently, I don't know on what machine. If we look at the YouTube video, maybe. You can see all of this was done apparently in real time. And
it looks like Iceland. This is
exactly.
Iceland, totally.
It was based on Iceland, apparently. And all these models were made by scanning actual places.
Right.
So they had very, very, very high quality scans, and they used that. They put it in Unreal Engine 4, and apparently it was rendered in real time. But you used to need a very powerful machine.
Can I jump in just for maybe those listening that might not know what real time refers to? Here's the way I understand it. When you're playing a video game, the game engine has to create everything in real time, because when you perform an action, the action happens instantaneously, right?
Yeah.
So the engine is being recreated every second as you're playing the game. Yeah. But if you imagine a Marvel movie, everything is done in post. It's all they have to render is everything that's on the camera screen, right? Yeah. So that's the reason why Hollywood movies can use these high poly counts and really high end graphics up until now, but video games couldn't.
So if I can rephrase that a little bit, so again, when I used to work on that, so what we used to do is if you render a video animation, you need 30 frames in 1 second.
Yeah.
And actually each frame would take either minutes or hours or even days, depending on how precise you wanted the render to be, how beautiful you want it to be. And yeah, we used to calculate that on our machines at work, and it would take hours sometimes for just one frame. So it might take days to get a 1 minute sequence.
Right. And Hollywood, they have these computer farms rendering Marvel movies, you know, something that you can't do at your house.
Yeah. So render farm is basically like hundreds of computers crunching the numbers for one image, like to get the image count faster. You know.
What I saw is in a demo, basically, as the sort of actor or whatever scene they're showing, as they pan left and right, it's in virtual real time showing the scene. So there's no more having to CG everything. It's already, it's the template's already there.
So that's what they did in Mandalorian. So
that's so cool.
We're going full circle here. So
and it's got the dynamic lighting.
So now we got to this the state of things now is that we can actually use the Unreal Engine to render in real time without waiting for each frame to render, and we can actually track the position of the camera. And so what they do on the set of the Mandalorian, they have this screen displaying the render, and they map the place of the camera in the set. And so the screen renders depending on the position of the camera, so the perspective is right. That's just mind-blowing.
And also the lighting is the correct lighting. If the cloud comes over, the lighting changes based on the algorithms and all the...
amazing.
It's
just crazy.
If you guys haven't seen it, you've got to watch the YouTube. I mean, just search Unreal Engine 5. It'll probably come up like 10 million
or
views
also
or
search
something.
like maybe Mandalorian behind the scenes and Unreal Engine. You can search all that together. You'll find something quite
very
so
cool.
What about for the world of gaming? I mean, we've got the new Xbox X coming out and the PlayStation 5, so they're able to play these platforms. Myself, I'm a FIFA guy. I love my FIFA. I'm on FIFA 19 right now. Would this sort of help me in my FIFA, game? Am I going to be seeing the most realistic soccer games in the world in the next year, right?
Honestly,
you would probably have almost photoreal soccer-looking stadiums and players, and
that's amazing.
This basically means they can scan in like real players into the game, and the poly count will be so high you can't distinguish the virtual player from the real player.
But honestly, I feel like sports game in general have, and car games also already have like a very, very high level of realism.
They peaked.
The thing that's only jarring in sports game is the animation, the movements of the players. But one thing is that the Unreal Engine brings is the dynamic lighting, because in sports game you can do something called baking. That means you can actually calculate before rendering, you can actually calculate how the lighting bounces everywhere in the stadium, for example, and then you bake in that lighting into the texture. So the texture already is lit up.
I see.
How it would be in real life.
And that's how they had to do it before.
You know, it'd be really cool.
You don't need to calculate the lighting every second.
You know, it'd be really cool is as you're playing the game, it's maybe 5 o'clock and the sun's going down, and it gets like sunset, and the super dynamic lighting is changing, and it's like, it starts to rain a little bit for 5 or 10 minutes in the game. Like, we could just up the level of gaming to
that's what they could do. That's what they could do.
That would be unbelievable.
But yeah, that's exactly the kind of scenario where dynamic global illumination. So they call that global illumination. That's the fact of calculating how light bounces around and how every object brings a little bit of color to other objects around it. Like if you have a blue wall, the blue wall is going to reflect a little bit of blue on my face. That kind of stuff. So this is now dynamic with Unreal Engine 5.
Now, William, they mentioned a lot in this Unreal Engine 5 trailer. They keep saying 16 million triangles in each whatever, billions, right? Just don't go nuts on this, but what do they mean by 60 million triangles? Or is it a pixel? Like a 60 million dots inside one triangle? Is that what they mean?
So as you can see on this image, for example, I'm not sharing right now.
That's okay. Yeah, share it away.
But so it's just like your model is made of triangles. So the more triangles you have, the more defined it is.
Okay.
And So we used to do something. Yeah.
Yeah, Nigel. If you look at, for example, the area where his eye is, where it's sort of
really dark,
it gets really black.
Yeah.
So like the resolution of the output is not high enough to display all the triangles there.
I see.
But those triangles are still there. If you imagined a virtual space being rendered like beyond the camera.
Okay.
So
that's the way I understand it.
When they say they have hundreds of billions of triangles in one scene. That doesn't
you
mean
won't
you're
necessarily
gonna
see all of them.
Because you only have like a few million pixels in your screen.
Well, it's like photography, still, right? Like, do you really need an 80 megapixel camera when you can't even see it unless you zoom in 5,000 million %, right?
So, exactly. So that's but the purpose is that if you actually move closer to an object in the scene, you're not going to be able to distinguish. You're going to be able to go very close to an object. It's not like in those games where suddenly you move around the corner and then you see the texture of the wood or the stone on the wall is like horrible. You see,
it's very
not
normal
like
for
that anymore.
Games like you're walking around in an apartment and then the books on the bookshelves, like they look cool at a distance, but if you go close, you can't read what the title of the book is or anything like that.
And the texture is all pixelated and stuff.
I mean, all you have to do is just go look at John Madden 10 years ago or baseball or any of those games, and just there was a video I watched where it actually showed every single John Madden from day one to what it is now. It was actually the trailer for Xbox X, and they showed the progression of John Madden football from the beginning to the end. And it was like Nintendo 1986 or something. And it was like, little blocks moving around, throwing the ball. And it was like, I used to play that. And then now it's like, all these crazy. So it was the progression of video games and how it's gone. And it's just unreal.
Yeah, we've come far.
I think what's going to happen, just in a nutshell, you guys said VR a lot. I've got a 13-year-old boy, and you know what he keeps saying? VR, VR, VR. He's obsessed with VR. So I think what's going to happen, you're going to have this Unreal Engine 5, you're going to put the goggles on, and you're going to go into your video game world with a, what is it called? What's it called? One of those treadmills or whatever. They're going to strap you in. You're going to have a gun in your hand, and you're literally just going to start firing away at home the PlayStation, 10, whatever it's going to be, and you're going to literally sit in your own room that becomes a virtual world. I think that's the wave of the future for video games and stuff.
Kind of like Ready Player One, basically.
Yeah, that's what he said. He mentioned that. He mentioned that.
I mean, it's not far-fetched at all. I mean, if you look 20 years in the future, it's probably going to be similar to that.
I think even less than 20 years. It's so exponential, the development of things.
Well, for me, the only thing that's like not realistic in this movie is not like the realism of the image. It's more like the suit, that's the only part where we don't know what to do. We have made no progress in that. I think
haptic feedback is what they call it, and it's would you even want that? Would you even want to feel what it's like?
I'd want that.
You want to get shot in the face?
I want to get the shot. I want to get the shot in the back, like that, and you feel it, like just hit the side of your gut. Like I want that.
You want to feel when a player sneaks up behind you and stabs you with a knife.
Well, okay, all right, maybe not. But if you've done IMAX 4 or IMAX 4D, I saw Star Wars IMAX 4. They're spraying water. They've got the air. They've got the thing shooting behind your back. I mean, it's rotating, moving. It's a pretty cool experience. So
it's fun. It's fun. It depends what movie, like if you go watch like something that's really, really heavy action, it's like, okay, it's fun. Yeah. But I wouldn't do that for every movie.
Although we're going a little off topic now, I'll just throw in my 4D experience. I went to see The Martian, and for some reason Mars smelled like rotten cheese, and I just did not enjoy the movie at all.
Oh, that's a great movie, by the way.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's not a good movie to smell.
Yeah, it's not the type of movie I would watch in 4DX.
It's expensive
smelling Matt Damon's potato farts.
Yeah, potato farts, nice.
All right, so what do you guys think? Are we happy? We went through this Unreal Engine 5 pretty good. Are you guys pretty happy with it?
Yeah, I think the impact on the movie industry is it's beyond our imagination, but it's going to come sooner than... I mean, I think Mandalorian sets a good precedent of what we can imagine for the future of filmmaking.
Such a good series. Mandalorian, loved it. It was so good. Disney's onto something here, man. They're onto it. So, unbelievable.
For me, it was mostly like the cinematography was just beautiful, and and Baby Yoda, and that's it.
My wife was obsessed with the characters. She loved the characters. But anyways, that's a whole different. Hey, maybe we'll do a whole podcast on season 2, right?
It's not out of topic, like we're talking about movies.
Filmmaking.
Filmmaking,
And it's related to what we're talking about. So
yeah.
All right, works. Thanks, guys. That was really good, man. I learned a lot. So what we're going to move on to is last week on our first part series, we went over client briefing, and we didn't really touch on pricing your work. And we feel there should be a whole entire episode alone. I mean, pricing is a pretty big deal, and
it wasn't too big of a topic to just talk about it.
So if you guys feel like this is a really important subject, please let us know, and we'll maybe consider doing a future episode on pricing with clients. And definitely that's something that I think could happen in the future. So tell us what you guys think, guys. Today we're going to be going to start our second part of the series called pre-production. Now, William, would you like to go over our main points of today's discussion?
Yep. So we're going to start by defining, are you going to shoot run and gun or scripted or staged? Then we're going to talk about storyboarding, then finding talents for your video, then scouting locations, logistics, time scheduling, call sheets, all that kind of things, and prepping your gear, very important too.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get started, William. Let's rock and roll on pre-production. I love it. This is where the magic happens, really. So
So that is, I think it's a topic that doesn't get much love. It's not very sexy.
Yeah, no.
Right? But it's very important. I believe, like, if you're not really prepared, it depends on the project you're working on. So that's what I'm going to start with. Okay. Obviously, if your project is something that's going to be shot run and gun, like an event, you don't need much preparation besides prepping your gear and knowing how the location is, how the lighting is going to be. But anything that requires kind of like storytelling, you need to, and locations, you need to be prepared. So,
and also on top of that, being prepared, that's one thing, but also being able to communicate expectations properly to your client, which I think these two go hand in hand.
Yeah. So I think the first thing you need to think about. So let's say you have a project like a music video, like we did with Nigel. Well, I think we're going to take the example of a music video we did last year with Nigel together.
Yeah, we did the tango video.
That was a great one.
Yeah, that was super fun.
Tango,
thanks, man. The tango video.
Yeah.
So so the first thing was we had a creative meeting with the clients. Yeah. We had 2 meetings, I believe, or just one meeting, you, and then the second meeting, creative meeting, where we actually showed everything we had. Yeah. So between those 2 meetings, what we thought about was, first we searched for a location. We wanted something very particular, like something with a lot of soul. Yeah. And we found this. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Just a little overview. The location was, my family and I had been there, and it's an old Nagasaki submarine testing facility for bombs. And basically for 50 years, it's just a building that's been there forever. It hasn't moved. It's in its natural state.
So and this is the building.
Yeah, this is the building. And when I went there, it had marble flooring in the middle of it. And when William starts to show you, I mean, this is... So if you look on the right-hand side, there's a tree and there's an old marbling. Now, when the tango dancer said she wanted something where she'd be able to dance, I just thought of this place, and I did some searches, and actually music videos for Japan were filmed in here, and it has a reputation, actually. So we actually had to go to the Nagasaki Film Commission and actually get permission to film here. So we had to have a permit, and we had to get, well, we're going to explain all this, but basically, in a nutshell, we... had this idea, and we presented it to the dancers, and they just fell in love with the location. So,
So the idea was, so you found you had this idea for this place, and we had a lot of. So the first thing we did is a long process of vetting the location, like thinking about, can we actually do this here? Like, is it not going to be like too challenging? And it was pretty challenging.
It was very challenging.
It was very, very challenging. So the first thing is we couldn't scout it in person. We couldn't go there because it's like a 2-hour drive one way. So we didn't want to go there just for scouting. So we just found a lot of pictures on Google Maps and Google Street View. And so thankfully, the building doesn't have a roof. So on Google Maps, you can actually, on Google Earth, you can actually see the layout of the building pretty well.
Yeah,
that's killer.
So one big issue we had was there's no electricity, and there was no electricity. I searched local businesses, and I actually started putting lines down on Google Maps to see how far it was, and it was like 800 to 1,000 meters. I was like, William, could we get a kilometer of cabling? And then finally, I just came to the conclusion we need a generator. So I started looking at local rentals, and
that was the most.
That was the most.
Can you even imagine a kilometer of cabling just like rolled up?
I think you're exaggerating a bit. The closest was maybe 200 meters. But that's still far.
It's a ton load of
So we ended up searching for generators, and so this place we really fell in love with it. So we've decided that let's do it here. And the reason why also the couple of dancers, they wanted just a video of them dancing. But what Nigel and I did was we proposed to have a mini short film at the beginning of the scene to introduce the dance.
That's right.
And for that, so we did a lot of brainstorming together, and we came up with the conclusion that we absolutely needed a storyboard. For that. So thankfully I had an intern at the time and she could draw pretty well. So this is what she came up with. Or me. So this is really not your typical this is not really not your typical storyboard style. Usually you would do something like a very grayscale, just black and white. But it's really cute.
And so the principle of this, she's a Argentinian tango dancer looking for her lover. And the principle of the concept of this is she's standing on this structure rock on a sunset overlooking the ocean, and she feels he's not there. And so she's looking
she has a longing.
She's got a longing for her lover. So there she is. She hears a sound from the building. She hears something. William, number 4, please. Can you do the next one? So she hears the sound, and she starts to walk along this concrete pier. The problem a little bit, her high heels. So that was an issue we had a lot with high heels.
Right. I saw the picture. It wasn't very stable.
Look at the pier. Look at the pier. It's horrible.
So here we are, she's trying to walk in these high heels. And
there were only very few sections of the pier where it was actually kind of flat and you could actually walk for like 5-6 meters. So we make do with that.
But as we moved into this storyboard, it saved our butt because it was now 6:15 and I was like, William, we need the drone shot of this. So now,
time was running
fast. We only had,
because the sunset,
the sunset. And now she walks up to this building, and now look at this. This is a drone shot looking down as she goes into the building,
going over the edge of the wall. And we did it exactly like this in the video. So the main takeaway from doing this storyboard, then she goes into the building, there's this big tree, and then the lovers reveal coming from a dark room like this.
Now this is a really interesting part. William, that's an old, what is it called? The old record player? Gramophone. Now William actually wanted to 3D render this. And actually we presented this to them and they just went, no, thank you. But it was cool. It was a cool idea. We ended up scrapping the idea. But on the storyboard, I was like, William, that's cool, man. Like,
Also,
actually, I'm glad because I would have had to spend a week doing the gramophone.
budget.
But still, like, imagine presenting that to future clients. Like, we rendered this gramophone. That'd be pretty dope. That's street cred right there.
And then now he goes through the concrete bricky door thing. We used the Lumix GH5S, which has really good low light capability, and we didn't even light him up. The whole thing was lit up, and he just went through that door, and it was just perfect.
So the lighting we had to. So we filmed there at night. We filmed the pier scene at sunset, and we filmed the inside scene at night. So we had to lit up everything with LED lights, basically running on generator power. And it was pretty fun.
And now he finally sees her. You know, he looks up and they do this little twirly dance, tango, whatever. And I said to the dancer, you do whatever you do. It's your thing. You know what to do. They look at each other.
Yeah.
They tango around each other. They spin and whatever.
And from there, we don't have a storyboard. It's just like the dance begins. And for that, we just recorded 4 or 5 times the dance in different angles. That's it, basically.
It was a lot of work for the dancer. We overworked them because it was probably an hour and a half, and it was about 35 degrees, which is around 80, about 80 or 90 degrees. And so it was very hot. And if we honestly had 2 or 3 cameramen, they could have danced it once or twice. But again, budget and money. It was myself filming the whole thing with a shoulder rig. So we made them do it 5 times and stuff. So, you know, that's something you want to think about with your client is, you know, if you can't afford to get more cameramen because it's going to less work for you guys as a band, you know, we can have different angles, but as you know, us videographers, we sometimes it's just us, that's it. So
okay. So I mean, the takeaway for me is that the storyboard really saved our ass, because like if you go there on the day and you don't know what you're doing, it's a nightmare. Already, even having that, we still had to figure out a lot of stuff, like where are we going to place the camera to get the angle we want. This doesn't work, let's change up, let's do this instead. And all the like dead time between each shot, like because the girl has to change, the girl has to redo her makeup, all this kind of stuff that basically take more and more time. I think the plan was to end around midnight. And we ended around maybe 2,
yeah, it was about
I
2.
guess.
Yeah, 2.
And then we started packing up at 1:30 or 2, something like that, in the morning.
One thing we didn't storyboard was the bugs and the insects and the frogs everywhere. That was not part of the storyboard, but at 2 in the morning, we were literally, there's frogs everywhere.
So you have to know, we had my huge like aperture dome.
120D.
It was covered, it was the white sheet was covered in bugs. Hundreds of
man.
It was so bad. So storyboarding.
So we have this storyboard. We had this kind of like the location scouting, and then we also had. So moving on to the next thing, we also had a shot list, like with like what we want to achieve, basically the theme, what kind of shot, then what gear we need for that particular part. And
this actually, I made this here, and this is just so you guys know, this is actually Google Slides. It's basically like PowerPoint. The advantage to using Google Slides is it allows you to make these slides, and then you can hand them over to whoever, and you can edit and share them all on the Google Drive. So that's why I like these Google Slides. It just kind of gives you an overview of what you need and stuff like that. So it's more like a checklist, really, right? So and so basically the idea is we prepared all of this material before the second meeting. So when we came for the second meeting, we had everything printed out, and we could show it to them, and it was really good to convince them to. They were so excited, basically, like they went crazy on the idea of the short film at the beginning, right? Yeah, it was an easy
sell.
It
you
was
communicated the expectations properly, and you know they're on board and they're excited, and they also, you know, when you're telling them to work a little longer, a little extra.
Exactly.
Like they're already committed to the idea.
Because you have to sell the idea of going like 2-hour drive to a location very far away, working at night until midnight or even 1 or 2 a.m. And then coming back we came back to Fukuoka at 4, I guess.
And you know, the whole point of the storyboard is I had this idea in my head where this, you know, she's in the distance, you know, all that stuff I told you. And and then William's like, we're going to storyboard it. And honestly, I'm not a big storyboarder. And William's like, let me do it. And I'm like, okay, go for it. And once he showed it to me, it was like, oh, there's my idea on paper, man. That's what I envisioned. So,
because the thing is, sometimes you communicate, like you had ideas, you said, oh, we do it like this, the move like this. And I was like, yeah, we do it like this. And we are not talking about the same thing actually.
And then you show up on location and you're just like, what are you doing?
You're fighting. You're like, what's happening? So making it on paper, we actually did 3 versions of the storyboard before even showing it to the client.
Right.
Because I did some things, and then Nigel was like, this is not really what I had in mind. Let me show you.
Yeah.
And so we redo it.
And I think that's why I made that Google slide, because I was like, okay, you guys need to see some Google images of what, you know, what actually is. So, you know, a good tip is before you get to your location, start getting into Google Images on maps. Another pro tip, I'm going to reveal a good one for you guys. You're going to love this one. You ready? Go to Instagram and search the hashtag of the location that you're going to. So
this is really nice.
So if it is cherry blossom season, we call it sakura in Japan. Search Tokyo Sakura. And lo behold, guess what? Everybody is taking pictures with their phones, hashtag Tokyo cherry blossom sakura. And they'll say, oh, it's not in season, maybe next week. Yeah. Okay, cool. I don't need to film it. So
this is the exact, this is very good for seasonal stuff. Yeah. For if you need to see how a place looks like right now. Yeah. Because you see the most recent pictures in the feed.
Yeah.
Should we talk about what happens when you don't prepare, when you don't storyboard, when you don't communicate properly?
All right, go ahead, John. And I got one after you. So you do yours and I'll do mine, and let's go for it, John. Tell us,
All right, cool. So, I mean, you know, as videographers with the skill set and the gear to film and, you know, make awesome video, a lot of the times our friends might come to us and ask for favors. And this is exactly what happened for me, and this is the beginning of this story. So I have a friend, and he just opened up a new sort of, let's call it, fitness-themed restaurant, where basically everything's higher in protein, everything's super healthy, so, like the concept being just, you know, healthy food tasting good, right? Okay. So he wants to promote his business. He asked me, hey, you know, would you mind coming in and filming my chef making one meal? And me, I'm thinking, yeah, fun. Yeah, let's do it. It's going to be a great time.
Run and gun, baby.
So I show up there with this sort of run and gun mentality of just like, hey, let's have fun. Let's film the chef doing this one meal. And before you know it, he tells the chef to actually produce more than one meal. And because we're not properly communicating as well, there's no acting going on. It's just a chef like doing his thing, and I'm just like, oh shit, I have to keep up. And you know, there was no pre-scouting the location. I had no idea about the lights, so like a lot of the shots were ruined because I didn't match the shutter speed. For those of you who maybe don't know, but that just means like the lights will flicker. Yeah. And so the first few shots would be completely ruined because of that. So it started out as this fun thing that we might do in an afternoon and turned into like this 4-hour thing. And I was so into it, I didn't mind. I was just like, yeah, let's film everything. Like, yeah, let's just do it. They're into it. So in the end, because the chef is, you know, it's not choreographed, he's just doing his thing. I have one chance to get a good shot. I managed to get like 4 decent sequences out of it, 4 different meals that he prepared out of maybe 10 that he did. And then afterwards, he wanted me to photograph all the meals in like a very nice looking, can you imagine?
That's something special. That's something you don't improvise.
Yeah, right. So coming from William, the photographer. Yeah. So here we did not communicate expectations at all. He thought I would just show up and he would just like throw a bunch of stuff at me that I would film. And I should have done something sooner. I should have, you know, stepped up and said no. But I was having fun, and I didn't mind at the time for whatever reason. So I photographed all the meals, and I think the photographs turned out decently considering there was no preparation. Yeah. And so in the end, I delivered to this guy a massive value. I give him photographs of 10 different meals at least. Yeah. And 4 sequences that I think looked semi-okay. Now... he gets back to me and he says, oh yeah, I like it, but could you do like more graphics? And already he's asking for revisions. Yeah. And you know, his imagination of what the final video would look like was gonna be something more trendy, like Instagram, like whooshes and spinning. So he sent me some examples after, you know, we did the shooting.
That's a nightmare.
Right? Yeah. So the expectations were completely mismatched from the very beginning. I was imagining like a slow-mo kind of like preparing the meal very gently and presenting it, and he's imagining like some sort of hardcore like Daniel Schiffer type style of just like speed ramping everything. So I did my best, work with what I got, and I delivered him actually a second revision, and still I'm working for free, right? Yeah. And this guy is so bad at communicating. He says like, yeah, you know, it's nice, but I want more, you know, flashy things. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, this is what I can give you for now. And just if you're not happy with it, then don't use it. Yeah. And the guy gets really angry. He says that he's wasted all his time, wasted money making the chef make these meals, not even considering the fact that editing these videos is going to take a lot of time for me.
Yeah.
So the whole thing just ended up in a ruined friendship, unfortunately. And
that really sucks.
There's another part that I didn't even mention, is that when I didn't make more revisions, he thought I was holding off, like I was withholding video that I didn't want to show him.
Yeah.
But it was just unusable video, basically.
Yeah.
So he said that he wanted to come by and collect the raw files.
Oh, I hate that.
So that he could edit it. And I asked him, like, who's going to edit it? He said, my friend. And I asked, are you paying this friend? And he said, yeah. And I'm just like, no. Yeah. You're not going to pay me to edit it. And you're going to hand my footage off to someone else to, pay them to edit it. It's just not a good thing. So expectations completely mismatched.
For those listening, I think this is an awesome story. I mean, this needs to be published. This needs to be published. Is this the first time? Is this an exclusive TMZ?
I've posted the story in like a comment reply on the GH5 Facebook group before.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But,
so just once.
But is this the first time it's been openly spoken in public in a video, so to speak?
Yeah.
So,
This is the perfect example of everything that could go wrong.
Absolutely going wrong.
Because you didn't communicate properly at the beginning. Yeah. That's a really great example of preparation.
Well, my wife...
Sorry, I want to just take another... Bring another takeaway from this story. What I've learned personally is that really don't do work for free. Like you can do it for cheap, but if you do it for free, then you're just going to attract these types that want to take more than you're willing to give.
My biggest issue with my customers is the revisions, and I accept the revisions. I get it. But I won't take the revision when it's 80% into it. So what I do is I give them a block of 20% and I show them the block and I say, this is what I have. And if they're cool with it, I move on to 50 and I move on to 80. And once I get to 80%, it's almost done. And I say to them, look, we're at the end of this. Are you sure everything's good? And if it's good and we get to the end of the video and they say, oh, we want to change all the font and everything has to be changed. I say, sorry, that's going to cost money. That's going to be a fee to do all that because you already gave me the okay to get to the next stage. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but that's just what I've personally done. And it seems to work pretty good for me. So, yeah.
Especially if you communicate that beforehand. As long as communication is clear, then these problems shouldn't arise.
I think that's better the way you do it rather than doing the final product and then send it and then waiting for revisions.
That's what happened to me, basically.
If you can do like a raw draft of the thing of the video and just send it before any text, any animation, anything. That's better.
And William, this comes up on the other part of our series called post-production, and I'm not going to talk about it right now because that's a post-production podcast.
Yeah, so let's not go too deep into that.
But the post-production, I'm telling you, man, I'm gonna reveal some juicy bits, and you guys are gonna love it because this is what I'm going to be talking about: getting those revisions done, hammered out, and done in a safe way that everybody's happy. So
that's good.
And if I can just real quick say what I would have done differently if I had the opportunity to. I would have at first communicated a price. I would have prepared a storyboard and set up the expectations of what type of video we're going to make. Yeah. And most importantly, set up the quantity of videos and not let him walk over me when he's saying, let's just do 5 more. Yeah. Because you can get so caught into it when you're filming and you're having fun that, you have to have boundaries. You just really have to say no.
Yeah. Something you said, it's exactly that. I think the same thing. When you said... people who you attract that kind of clients. The people who pay very little money or even want stuff for free, they're the type of people who ask even more all the time. They're not going to be like, oh, you did that for free, thank you so much, I won't ask too much. It's like, no, they ask even more than the clients who pay money.
You gotta be careful how much they take.
So. Yeah, you have to be very careful. So I wouldn't say like 100% don't work for free, but like if you do, or if you work for cheap or free, you really have to be very clear about what you're doing. And even if it's for free, just tell them, usually for that kind of work, I would charge this much. Yeah.
Yeah. Put a value on what you're giving away.
Yeah, they have to know how much value this is. Yeah, they have to be, because otherwise they're gonna shit all over you. Sorry for the
no.
No, but it's true.
Yeah, it's totally
true. They're gonna walk all over you, and they're gonna not value your work.
The people don't know. They don't know. When someone says change the text, I mean, that's just the most simple, like change the font. and you're already in the subtitle section, and I've done hard coding of subs, like subtitles, and it's gotten down to like 30 different sections of text. And, you know, we get to this part where we have to change the text. It takes me 40 minutes to change the text. So I let them know, hey, just so you know, it's going to take me 40 minutes to change all this text. It's not as easy as pushing a button. You know, it physically, manually has to be done. So just so you know, I'm going to charge for 1 hour of revision. This is what it costs. Are you okay with that? And if they say yes, fine, cool. I'm getting paid extra to edit the subtitles, and I don't mind doing it, but I won't do it for free because we're already at the end of the game. So yeah.
And I would add to that also in terms of music, get the go ahead on the music early in the edit, because if you start editing to a track and they want to change the track, then it's the whole soul of the video is it's going to become a patch job basically.
That sucks.
I agree 100%. I usually choose the music before I start the edits.
Could Storyboard actually be part of, we never actually included that, but Storyboard and music should somehow be part of the whole thing. So music drives a video, as I always say. So without the right song, you know. So
I never search for music before, like during the pre-production stage, but really? I
do.
But maybe I should, because it might give you even some ideas of shots that would match the music.
Inspiration.
That's a good point.
Inspiration is huge, and I think Nigel's pointed this out before. Just having, like, going through tracks, finding a bunch of tracks, making maybe even a playlist, and then just like listening to it when you're outside walking around. I mean, stuff happens in your brain. You're just like getting these ideas of great shots.
That's a super good point.
Just so you know, you can actually go, when you go to Sound, what is it? Sound, I can't remember now. Soundstripe, for example. Soundstripe. I'll actually create a playlist for my customer. And so I'll say like Williams Tango video, and I'll just put 4, 5, 6 songs. And I'll say, this is the direction of the video that I'm moving to. This is the song list that I have. Please have a listen. And they'll listen to it and they go, oh, awesome. Love it. Love it. This is for the gym, right? And the gym's like, oh, I love these songs. These are great. Okay, cool. Thank you. And then I move on to the next stage and start putting the music inside there. And like, yep, sounds perfect. I love it. So something to think about. I'm going to share a quick little thing about the storyboarding. And so, you're moving into storyboarding. And, you know, go to Google and just type in storyboard template. And really simple. You just search, hit print, and boom, bada, bing. You're going to get yourself some easy little storyboards ready to go. So
the one I would recommend is ones where you can write a lot of stuff. I mean, if you're the type of person that likes to write a lot of notes, maybe you want to write, oh, this is camera is panning left to right, or using a drone, using a long telephoto lens, or sun is coming from the back, or all those kind of notes that you want to write. Don't choose a template where it's just frames. Just use one that has a lot of text lines on the sides.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really nice. And then the next one,
and you just print those, and
I print them.
And you drew on them.
Yeah, put them on a clipboard, look like a pro, and have a piece of paper. It's been said that when you show up with a meeting with a pen and paper, that 30% of people will say that you look smarter. So just show up with a pen and paper. I'm serious.
It's the same thing as glasses, right?
Yeah. My friend told me this. He's an insurance salesman, and the first thing he does is pad of paper and a pencil or pen, and he just starts writing notes. And you see Japanese, they're famous for this, right? So same thing.
Just take it a step further and wear a lab coat, you know?
So this is the power of a storyboard. This was a little movie I'm doing with a friend of mine from Kabuso Studios. He's here in Fukuoka, and it's called The Four Goddess, basically. I'm going to turn this down.
This is the actual video. We can't hear it.
So this is the actual video. So this is basically me flying my drone through the little temple gates here. I don't know if you can see it due to zoom, but basically it's fly through the gates. And in the storyboard, this is what I was given, basically. And you can see here, hopefully.
Maybe just pause it and skip through the video.
Yeah, I will. And I'll also turn down the quality a little bit. But basically, for the podcasters who are watching this, what we have is a storyboard of a local Canadian artist guy, and he is an amazing artist. And he actually just did an amazing job. I mean, look at the two. This is what I was given, and I'll just rewind here. And this is what I was given. Yeah, so this is what it looks like in the drone, and then this is what it looks like with the storyboard. So that was, you know, with that shot, I was able to imagine the drone going through there. And the producer, or sorry, the director was like, "Are you sure you can do that?" I'm like, "I'm going to try, man. I'm going to try to put the drone through there."
Yeah.
And it took.
And then if you go next, I think you have the stair frame.
Yeah, the stair frames, I believe, shows up a little bit later. So
yeah, like that.
Yeah. Again, I can just kind of skip it a little bit. Yeah, so those are the stairs.
Like this is exactly what you have.
Yeah, and this is the stair shot. Yeah, the stair shot's right here. So.
This is exactly that.
Yeah, so the power of a storyboard is ridiculous. I mean,
getting everyone on board.
Yeah.
Showing up on location, just nailing the shots.
Yeah,
all of it.
Yeah. So definitely, it's awesome. All right, William, let's move on to the next part. What do you want to talk about next?
Yeah. I mean, then it's logistics. I think you wanted to talk about like your three most important factors.
Yeah, so
three most important points when choosing location.
I got this from YouTube, and basically, you know, when you're going to have a crew of, you know, a bunch of you to show up a location, first thing you need are toilets, parking, and food. Now, this isn't run and gun by yourself. This is when you have actresses, you've got sound guys, and you've got a whole crew. And the first thing you do is you look for the toilet. Because when you get there in 8 hours of shooting, somebody's going to have to go to the bathroom. Yeah. And number two, you're going to be needing parking because there's people's cars showing up and things like that. So can we park there? In Tokyo, that's a big deal, obviously. So
yeah, in Japan it's really hard.
Parking's very difficult sometimes. So look for parking. Make sure everyone's happy. They don't talk to producer directors, you know, and where's the parking? I have no idea. And number three, you need to feed these people. And whoever takes care of it is part of the budget. So, you know, who's going to be getting food and drinks and things like that. So you want to make sure everybody's super happy. So those are my
just to be clear, that's something you really need to do beforehand when choosing locations, when looking for locations. If parking or toilets or whatever are a problem, you might have to scratch a location or you might have to really find a solution for that. Yeah. It's really important.
Just something came to mind right now. I've done the Japanese commercial thing before as an actor. And just having somebody that can bring you a cold coffee or like a lunchbox on request is huge. So like we were shooting in summer. It was very uncomfortable, very hot, we were shooting the whole day for 3 days in a row, but I never felt like I didn't want to be there. And I think a huge part of that was that I could always get food, I could always get drinks. You know, I was provided for. So it's huge for your actors and your crew.
Yeah. When in Vancouver, I've been fishing on a rock on a river, and the crew came up to me and said, "Hey, do you mind getting off this rock? We're about to start filming a Hollywood movie, and you can head over to the food truck and you can get some free food." I was like, "Okay, sure." So I got off the rock for an hour and a half. It was cold. It was, you know, raining and stuff. And I went over and I ate with all the extras, and I was eating, you know, sandwiches and coffees. And they took care of just the local citizens who are in the shot. And they asked you to, Vancouver, man, it's an amazing city.
So they kind of bribe you. They kind of bribe you with food so that you just get out of the way.
It's not bribing when it's win-win. Everybody wins.
Everybody wins.
Of course.
Right? I was hungry anyways. I was sitting on a rock fishing all day. So, I mean,
That's nice.
For sure.
Yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a great lesson too for us.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be a situation where I had to do that sometime in the future.
Yeah. Contrary to me, where when we shot the tango thing, and we saw a guy come up on the pier, he was starting to maybe do fishing or whatever. And I came up to him with my little certificate saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, like we have authorization from the Nagasaki Film Festival to shoot here. Yeah. So can you, like, we're going to shoot soon, so can you just
and
move?"
That's another thing. Another thing is crowd control.
But he was very polite.
Crowd control. You need, again, if you're in a situation, you're going to need crowd control. So you need a little assistant there to come over with her little clipboard, put pylon cones. I was actually told by Nagasaki Film Commission to actually set up pylon cones to actually ward off people. We didn't have it, but I mean, they actually did mention that it is your job to look after the safety of the building, the safety of the people around there, and to also tell people not to come into the shot. And so that was actually in the contract for the permit. So
well, we didn't have enough staff for that, but anyway, the place is really very remote. So we only saw maybe two groups of people.
Yeah, we saw 2 people. That was it.
Yeah, so we just said, "Oh, sorry." The first one was too early. We were not even shooting yet. And the second one, I just said, like, "Oh, can you give us a space?" And
for sure.
"Oh, yeah, sorry, no problem."
That was awesome.
So it was okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Being polite gets you a long way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I was glad I spoke Japanese at the time.
But you don't now.
He forgot it all, baby.
Yeah, still.
Yeah,
I still speak Japanese, but yeah.
Cool. All right, next part. Let's move on.
Yeah. What's the next? Time scheduling. Oh yeah. So obviously once everything's set up, and you know your location, you know who needs to be where, if you have a big crew, I'd say maybe like up to 5 people, maybe a group conversation or whatever is enough. But above that, you would do something called a call sheet, where you write everyone's role, what everyone needs to bring, what time they need to be where, how are they going to be picked up or whatever. All they need to know, basically, summed up on one piece of paper. Yeah. And you just send that to everyone, and so there's no questions of, I didn't know I needed to do this and that, because it's all on the call sheet. Yeah. So, yeah.
Cool. Yep. Sounds good. Very easy.
And
easy
you've got one thing that we saw with Nigel, we wanted to talk about. There's a software apparently that you can have. I never used it before because it's you have to pay for it. Called Studio Binder. It's more like for kind of like big-ish productions so it helps you manage all your storyboards, manage all your call sheets, the list of personnel, and yeah, it's a good thing to streamline everything and not just having your Excel sheets that you do yourself.
I think it's worth mentioning that Studio Binder, they have a really good YouTube channel with a bunch of value.
Yes,
and that's probably how both of us know about it. But
yes, I love the
worth checking
YouTube channel. Yeah, definitely check it out. It has amazing content.
Probably the best example of content marketing that I can imagine. Like, it's crazy.
Well, they're good. They're good at storyboarding, aren't they?
Yeah, well, there you go. Hey,
that's what they do.
Yeah.
Are you a filmmaker down and out? Nice. Storyboard can help you achieve your goals.
Yeah, please sponsor us.
Hey, Storyboard, we're sending people your way.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway.
Okay, next one.
So maybe last point. Oh, we didn't talk about finding talents.
The old talents.
So this is
where are the talents?
So if it's a video for someone and you're just shooting that person, then that's done. You don't need to think about it. But if you want actors, depending on the performance you need, you can just go with amateurs if it is small budget. If there's no talking, for example, it's just facial expressions, I think most people can pull off something somewhat good. So you can ask friends or stuff, or find models on Instagram. That's what I've done many times.
Well, that's a lot for your photography business, right? You do a lot of Instagram.
But when you need someone to be really, really professional, you need a really good model. You might want to go for a model agency. So you might want to ask your clients to go do that themselves, to do the contracts themselves, because they're going to be the ones paying them anyway. So you just might have to refer them to talent agencies.
I would also just, I mean, if you need a specific type of person, let's say a specific race, casting, a specific build, a specific nationality or something, you always just reach out to your network, because that's how I've gotten contacted before. Like, they needed somebody who could skateboard, and that's it, right? So just reach out to your network and just have a detailed description of the extra that you need, and then somebody who fits those shoes might pop up. And you don't need to go through agencies necessarily, but you know,
of course.
I think like regular people are very excited to be part of something. Promising a meal, free transportation, stuff like that.
Yeah, and having fun for a day. You know, like a lot of people like to do that. So again, I love doing that. If it's a role for something there's no speaking, no actual acting, I think mostly anyone can do a good job for that. Now, if you talk about real acting, the person has to say lines and stuff, then it's more difficult. Like, or you need either to be a really good director.
That's where a good cameraman comes in. And personally, that's where I like to that's where I feel I excel, because I know how to get people into certain scenes and things like that. And so being able to tell your talent where to go is a big deal, you know, like... when you have a travel vlogger, they don't really know what to do because they're just always by themselves. But I'm like, hey, this waterfall, I need you to walk up to it, touch a rock, take a picture. I need you to swing around, go to that point, you know, and it's all timing, right? You got to have this whole thing, and you're on your gimbal following them around, right? So, you know, you're screaming at them as you're going through. And I worked with this one girl from Italy. She was awesome. She did such a good job. She was just...
Was that the Mount Asso video?
Yeah, that was the Asso one. And she's a professional, you know, big time Instagrammer, and she was a hoot to work with. She knew what to do. But if you have the right talent, they know how to get the shots with you. And she's, how about I touch this rock here and then I go over it? I'm like, yeah, do that. That's perfect. I love it. So, yeah.
So it comes down to just being a very good director. You have to remember that you're not just a cameraman. Yeah. If you're a one-man crew, you're also a director. Yeah. You have to, and that means having to give very good advice to your talents. Yeah. So because they're here and they don't know what to do, so you're the person who knows what to do, and you need to guide them.
Just gonna do a quick share screen here, just really quick one. Just really quick one here. This is again the Four Goddess movie, and this is a professional Japanese actor, believe it or not. And he's been in Japanese movies and things like that, and it was a treat working with this guy. He's a taxi driver. He's in his car, and then he comes outside and he has a cigarette. Where's his cigarette scene? Here he is. He did the scene 5 times. He loved the scene. He's like, comes out of the car and he gets the cigarette. He had it perfectly set where he could just reach in there, get the cigarette, pop it out, put it in his mouth, light it real cool, have a long puff, and just like that. And he's just like, then he takes the cigarette and he throws it on the ground and he's like, yeah. And he just nailed it. And then he did it again. He's like, I got to do it again. I'm like, okay, one more time, please. And he was all acting. I mean, this guy was phenomenal to work with. So he's a professional actor in Japanese TV. So that was a treat working with him. But
that's cool.
Yeah, he knew what to do, this guy. So yeah, cool.
So should we move on to the last part actually is prepping your gear.
Oh, the gear.
Yeah. So maybe Nigel, you want to...
Well, you got that famous charging case, don't you?
Yes, the famous charging case.
There we go. There it is.
There it is,
folks.
Oh my God.
Folks, I'm going to just crank up the lighting because I am in a dark room
beautiful
right now.
DIY.
Yeah, this is a beautiful...
I really apologize to those of you only listening at this point. I hope you can go to the YouTube video to look at this thing because it's a marvelous beast.
Yeah, so Nigel, you built this huge box where you put all your charging cables, right?
Yeah, so all what it is just a gearbox or a lens box,
like a case, like a hard case.
Yeah, hard case.
It's a hard case. It's a hard case. If you guys want, we'll put an image of it on our Twitter or Facebook or anything like that.
Yeah,
so if you guys,
cool.
that's a good idea.
You guys
really
can see
good
it,
idea.
in better definition. But basically, it's just a gear. What's it? A gear case? A case?
Hard case. Hard shell case.
Hard shell case, and you just take the foam, you put it over a piece of wood, you measure it out, you cut the piece of wood, you put some holes in it, you slap it in, you put all your wiring in there, and what you do is you have a master, a master power dongle thing, so all your power runs off the one cord, and you plug in all your different things in there. All your extension cords run into it, all your cords run into it with a long extension cord. I'm getting super excited about it. And
so the idea is you have just one cable, so when you get on the location you just have one cable to plug in the wall.
There you go.
That's amazing. That's huge.
Yeah. So you're able to charge GH5, 2 GH5s, drones, a gimbal. You can run any type of cords off it. So
nice.
It's a good.
And also, when you're charging at home, you're not gonna leave gear plugged into random sockets all over the house. So that's a huge plus for anybody living with you as well.
Yeah, especially when you're going to hotels. The one job I had 5 different hotels in 5 different nights. So it was like, okay, where's the box? I just come into the hotel. I slapped it on the ground. I plugged it in. I went drone, GH5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, start charging, and I went out for dinner. And then when I come back, I just start, changing batteries and stuff. I do not want to be, getting all the wires out of the bag and plugging it in and stuff. Yeah. So, you're tired.
And I think it's worth saying that preparing your gear, like most of it is just having everything fully charged. Because that's the one thing that you can't fix on location if you're not fully charged.
And lenses, don't forget your lenses.
The other thing is lenses.
Yeah.
When you're lens maniac like me, I have maybe 15 lenses between all my different cameras, and you have to pick and choose, which one you're gonna bring. And I'm kind of on the heavy side. Usually I bring like 4 lenses, and I just end up using 1 or 2.
That's another benefit of storyboarding, though. You can really design beforehand which lenses to bring, because you know the shots you're going to get.
Yeah.
And also clean those lenses too. Clean them. I mean, get the little paper and the little liquid and give them a wipe down. You'd be surprised how dirty they are, especially when you do like ocean boat fishing and things. The salt sprays up into the lenses, and your gear's gonna get rusted so quickly. So if you're out on the ocean or anything, so make sure daily you're out there wiping everything down.
That goes double for you, the fisherman.
So that brings us to like the little accessories. Like obviously, like besides your camera, lens, and batteries, what are the things that not obvious, but the things that you can't live with, that you always bring?
Make sure, and this is a mistake I've done, make sure when you bring a tripod that you have the little like piece, the mounting piece, what's called the plate.
The plates. Yeah, the
forget the plate, everything falls apart.
It happened to me also.
Yeah.
It happens to everyone at least once.
Probably, So make sure that one's already attached to your tripod, or just keep it somewhere safe.
What would I not forget?
For me, I mean, I guess I can start because it's very simple for me. I make sure I have my variable ND. I have some pocket lights. I have at least 2 tripods, the tiny one and then the big one. And that's about it for me. I mean, I have my mounted mic. I don't know why I'm doing that. I got my mounted mic, and then I also got my lapel Rode mic. So 2 mics, like spare audio just in case. That's about it for me. It's very simple. Me, I mean, I'm a run and gun kind of guy, so that's it for me.
Yeah, I have these little, I've created these little bags basically, and the bags carry like all my batteries, and then the other bag carries all my NDs, because I don't use variables now. I just use fixed NDs now. So I have all of my NDs like lined up, and they're on a bag here on the right. On the left is my batteries and, little things I need.
You're using the magnetic NDs, right?
I'm using magnetic NDs now. So
I gotta get on that.
Get on that train.
I'm tired of the variables and the X pattern, and anyways, but I decided.
I don't get the X pattern, but having normal NDs, it's obviously better.
It's better quality.
But for me, when I have a job, I just pick up that bag, I pick up the other bag, you know what I mean? Like it's all organized, right? So there's no, where's the NDs? It's like, I know where they are, I've got that bag. So everything's very well organized.
Nice.
A good camera bag is really important if you want to get, did you guys pick up the Peter McKinnon one? The really nice bag? Yeah, you did. You little plugger down there.
Yeah.
I can't get it at the moment because they didn't ship to Dubai, so I shipped it to Japan. Yeah, so it's sitting there in Japan.
You can just send it to me. Just send it to me. I'll look after it for you. So.
Oh, you want to play with
it? Anything else I would recommend? I think William and I we talked about this before. Granola bars and food. You're out there for 8 hours. Yeah. You want to get some snacks.
Always when I go, I just swing by the kombini, basically the convenience store, and I grab an onigiri maybe, so that's just a bowl of rice. And I also always have in my bag some caramels, some candies.
Sure, candy's good.
It's just because that you can in a second you can just pop it into your mouth, and because sometimes you're tired, you're hungry, you're starting to get dizzy because it's too hot or whatever. You're working for 4 hours and you don't have time to eat. Just some sugar. You need some sugar, and then you're good to go.
I agree. Yeah.
Then there's a little small rig tool, right? Nigel recommended to me. I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Basically, it's just a little wrench, and it has every little photo thing that you need and stuff. So it's one of those little multi-tools that you always have to have in your bag. So
It prevents you, you don't have to bring coins anymore. You can just turn the plates thing with that.
Awesome.
That's really nice.
Yeah. So get your gear in order. Everything's charged, and SDs are wiped. Always clean your SDs. I always clean them. Reformatted.
Formats before. Yeah, it happened to me a few times. Having my SD filled up halfway, and then you're crap, I already shot one.
I had a different issue where I have, of course, the dual slots, but one of them was full enough that the recording got split between the two.
Oh.
And so that just complicated my post-editing a little bit. But it's
not too bad.
It's a minor annoyance, right? That I could have avoided if I just wiped it down, because it's all old, already backed up footage on it.
Yeah. Another little thing too is I have a MacBook, so I always bring my MacBook, and then when we're in the car moving to another location, I start pulling out the MacBook, and all the drone shots instantly get put onto the hard drive of this MacBook, and I start, transferring all the files, because the next scene is we're going to do an ocean scene. I don't want to lose all the previous shots that I got in the morning, so I'm transferring already in the middle of the car, onto the next location. We're heading for lunch, and I'm like, hold on, I need to start transferring, and I'm just in the car going transferring all the footage. So
I can tell. I lost my drone recently, and it got stuck in a tree, but I was fortunate enough that the connection remained, so I was able to download and salvage a couple of drone shots, which made it into one of my latest YouTube videos.
So that's what I noticed. Like the fact that you had the shot when it goes into the tree. I was like, he got it like with the remote. That's cool.
Downloaded it off the off the SD. That's
so worst case scenario, you can always download into your phone. And phones these days, they have a lot of internal storage. So usually you can store everything there.
Yeah, for sure.
So the point is, like, do backups as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Right.
One thing you can do for that, I have this, I don't have it on me here, but I have this big hard drive. It's kind of like this size, but it has a USB port input. So actually you can have a memory card reader plugged into this hard drive, and you just press one button, and everything on the memory card is going to be automatically copied on the hard drive. The hard drive is 4 terabytes. 4 terabytes, so that's really big. So
I once did a diving session in Miyakojima, where the guide was very professional. She had the case for the camera, so she would go underwater, and take photos and all that, and then she would just plug the memory card into her phone, and then send all the files just immediately. It was so nice, so quick. It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, maybe she's doing that because she's going to get attacked by sharks, and she doesn't want to lose the footage. So, that's why she's doing it. The dolphin attack.
I can lose an arm, but I can't lose my client's photos. No way.
No way. Next, I want to recommend this little guy.
The ScanDisk.
This thing is just so durable. It's 1 terabyte, and it's almost my main drive at this point. It's so good.
Like we have these, and Nigel and I, we have
we have 2 of those basically.
Yeah, I have 2
Are
of
they
those,
cheaper than the ScanDisks?
They're about the same price, I think.
I got mine on Black Friday last year. I couldn't resist the $129 price tag for 1,000 gigabytes.
Yeah, same thing. I got like $135 maybe for the 1 terabyte. So I got 2.
Yeah, for sure. They're awesome.
But
I guess the takeaway is you can't have enough drives when you're a video shooter.
Yeah, I'd like another one actually, just so I can edit this podcast and put it on its own individual, so I can just have it separated from everything else. So
I think on storage, one day I will tell you about my whole backup strategy. It's kind of big, but another day, maybe, because it's already quite long today.
Maybe we should wrap it up. We're just having fun now. So
for sure. All right, so
thank you everybody for sticking around.
Yeah, for sure. I think that concludes the pre-production video, guys. I think we went a little over limit today, but there's a lot of information. If you guys stick with us, the podcast is going to be on Spotify, iTunes podcasts. William, am I forgetting anything else there?
It's like everything that's linked to iTunes also. Like
that's right.
There's a lot of platforms.
For you Android people, Podcast Addict will host it.
Yeah, and don't forget, just go to LeFilmNation.com, and from there you'll be able to see all the podcasts and all the links. We just made a master list of everything, so it's the mother load, as they say.
So you have all the podcast links, the YouTube, the Twitter, the Facebook page, everything.
For sure.
Perfect.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. And as always, peace.
Peace.